Hello and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. This is Dragothian here, and today what we're going to be doing is going through the infantry talent tree and continuing our talent tree guide. And what I want to do is give you a quick breakdown of what all of these major bubbles do inside of the talent tree, and then also just give you a reason why you would want to select them whenever you're building your own talent build. And of course, we've got talent builds on this channel in my Discord. You can certainly use those to get battle ready right away, but I also want you to understand why I selected those bubbles, and so that you can, if you've got a certain idea or if you want to test something out, you know what to select to get the best return on your talent points. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and continue this talent tree guide that we've got on the channel with the infantry talent tree. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is go ahead and break down this tree into two halves. The right side is going to be more speed and crowd control based, and then the left side is going to be for massive amounts of stats, tankiness, just overall more health, defense, damage reduction stuff. So first off, you've got to hit that first bubble to get into the talent tree, and we're going to build it out the way that I build it out, and I'm also going to give you a base foundation talent tree that you can use on every single infantry talent tree that you have. At least in my opinion, you should have. There are must-haves on this tree. So if you want to go right, let's go ahead and make that first, just because that's not the way I normally go. Because again, for mobility, you don't really tend to look at infantry for mobility. Infantry are very much a slow unit on the battlefield. Even with all of these different march speed bubbles here, you've got a total of 6, 12, 18% march speed, which is not bad, but you're already working with a pretty low number as far as your speed goes on the infantry itself. So that 18% doesn't go as far as, say, a cavalry unit where you've got a higher base number to go off of. So with that being said, the only other commanders that have really good bonuses for infantry from a march speed perspective are Alex and Charles, and those don't go together because their shields don't stack. So you don't want to necessarily put them together, even though they'll be really fast infantry. I mean, I've tested it; it's pretty fast, but you're nullifying their major skills because they don't stack together. So with that being said, I don't tend to go to the right side of the tree just because of that, because you have to go through all this march speed stuff to even get to the next one up. Let me go ahead and get there first, though. This one here, Undying Fury, that's one of the bubbles that you actually do want to go and get. This is a very, very needed skill because you need to generate as much rage as possible on infantry, because with the exception of Sun Tzu, you don't really have the skill tree available, and then Constantine has the support tree available, which we just went over on our last talent tree guide, and that's a rage generating engine, but usually you're looking at a defense or an attack tree on your infantry commanders because they're built to be troop damage monsters and troop tankiness monsters. So that's why you'll see stuff like this where Undying Fury, it's actually very critical. Normal attacks grant an additional 9 rage. You definitely want to get that because you're going to be taking a lot of attacks. You're tanky 9 times out of 10, so you're going to be having a lot of attacks hit you. And then same thing with this Iron Spear. I do like this because of the value. You get 3% damage to cavalry units for the commander if you have units that are only infantry. So if you have just infantry in your army, which is what you should be going towards whenever you are building your armies, you may not be there yet, but once you get there, you'll see a world of difference when you have one troop type in your army versus mixed troops, unless of course it is a mixed troop commander. But for this guide, you want infantry only as much as possible inside of your armies, okay? So the next bubbles, again, we just talked about it. Fleet of Foot, 6% march speed, another 6% march speed, another 6% march speed. You want to kind of avoid that stuff. I mean, I've tried it out on the battlefield. It is a little bit of a noticeable difference, but again, you're not catching Cav. And if you are going to try and catch El Cid-based army or an Edward-based army from an archer standpoint, which why would you be trying to chase after archers? Infantry is not good against archers. You still wouldn't be able to catch them because the march speed bonuses there are just a lot bigger. So you want to really try and, as far as points go, be as efficient as possible, which is the whole point of these guides. I personally don't see the need for the march speed bonuses, okay? And again, you'd be getting the march speed bonuses to work your way all the way up to Snare of Thorns. And this is a good snare, don't get me wrong. You got a 10% chance to reduce your target march speed in a single target by 20% whenever you put 4 points into it for 2 seconds. It's not bad, and it can fire off randomly, okay? So maybe every 5 to 10 seconds is usually the average. So that's a nice snare, but there's better snares in the game. We just went over one. Cage of Thorns is basically this, but an AoE. So you get more than one target, and you can fire it off a lot more. And I mean, it's part of a 5-group army, right? Which is, again, what you're trying to build towards. Snare of Thorns is a good skill in and of itself, but there's just better versions of it in the game that you should be partnering up with armies that have the infantry tree anyway, through the support talent tree, certainly through I think there's another one in the archer talent tree that's just the same as this. I mean, there's different versions of this that just work a lot better. I don't tend to spec on the right side of the tree just to get Snare of Thorns because of that very reason. Now, if I do spec on the right side of the tree, I do it to get elite soldiers, which is the top talent inside of this talent tree. Not necessarily talent to the point or top to the point where you have to have it, but it's the last one that you can get. Like, you have to go through both the left and the right sides to get to elite soldiers, and it's a good value as far as the actual talent itself. You get basically a total of 7.5 stat points for 5 points, which is good. And again, these are good stats: attack, defense, and health. It's not 10% chance stuff. It's none of that. It's just a flat. You get 2.5% for each of your attack, defense, and health stats, which again, 2.5 times 3, that's 7.5. So you get a total of 7.5 skill points or percentage points for 5 talent points, which is good. However, again, to get there, you've got to add 2, 2, 2, and 4. So that's 10 skill points just to get here that I would normally not spend. So again, unless you have extra, which I'm going to show you a build where you're going to have extra, okay? So don't, get me wrong here. But if you're trying to be the most efficient and you have availability to put points elsewhere that's going to help you be more tanky or provide more damage support or provide more AoE crowd control support, which is what I mean when I say CC on this, I would go that route versus going necessarily just to get elite soldiers, although elite soldiers is a good talent. Where the huge value is in this talent tree is on the left side, okay? And we're going to go through and work our way up that way. So you get defense right off the bat on both of these bubbles, right? Then you get double-headed axe, which is kind of you got to have it, but it's only 3 points, and it does provide 1.5% normal attack damage. A little underwhelming considering it costs 3 points, but it is what it is. Call the Pack, very, very nice. You get 6% defense of all troops once you hit 50% of your army health, which is, going to happen. It's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. But you'll see as you pair them up with other talent paths for infantry commanders that resonates and synergizes really well with other talents in other trees. So, again, 2% health, very, very good. Strong of body, 2% per point, absolutely have to take that. That is a must-have, just considering the value that you get. I like the defense up there as well. Again, every single time you can see 1 point per percentage, that's a good value. Because generally, again, you're going to see half percentage point stuff. So, for instance, here you go, health, 0.5% for 1 point. 0.5% attack for one point. So, I mean, you want the ones that give you full points, or in this case, 2 points per point. That's absolutely crucial. And then, to me, the best talent inside of this entire tree is Hold the Line. Hold the Line gives you, and let's go ahead and give it a quick breakdown. When the army led by this commander contains only infantry units, so again, we just talked about that, gives troops a 10% chance to reduce damage taken by 20% for the next 2 seconds after being attacked. This can fire off multiple times. Again, it can happen where you do it once every 10 times, like the percentage chance says, but more often than not, I see this tend to fire off like once every 5 to 6 seconds on average, which means that, again, 30% of the time, you're going to have a 20% damage taken reduction. And again, that's damage taken. That's not troop damage taken. That's not skill damage taken. That is damage taken. So this leads me to believe that this covers all kinds of damage. So if you happen to get a skill damage number go above you as you're getting hit, and then this procs, you won't get hit for quite as much, which is very, very nice. And again, being tanky and also putting out serious troop damage is the name of the infantry game, okay? So if I'm showing you the best foundation infantry talent build, this is it. This is where you want to be when it comes to starting all of your infantry stuff. These are the must-have talents when you have an infantry commander and you're building your trees, okay? Because it gives you a massive amount of tankiness, a massive amount of stat increases for very good value on your points. It also gives you a little bit of rage regeneration with Undying Fury. And again, it looks like a little bit, guys, but you're going to be hit a lot. Maybe not necessarily first, but you will be hit a lot eventually. And this is where that rage generation is going to start cranking out like crazy. And again, I wanted to call attention to Call of the Pack. So when the army led by this commander has been reduced to 50% strength, increases defense of all troops by 6%. Well, guess what? There's other talents and other builds, and again, we're kind of going into other talents here, but when the army led by this commander has been reduced to 30%, greatly increases rage regeneration. So again, you're going to pair that up with this, and there's a couple of other things. You've got Burning Blood. I mean, again, we're not going to go into all the different trees in the same build, but you get what I'm saying. You can pair a lot of things up to make yourself uber tanky, and unless you have one army out there and just getting yourself swarmed down, which you should never do, this army will last quite a while on the battlefield. It'll be very hard for you to be sent back packing with a sad face, okay? So let me show you some of the builds that I do on... Actually, I'll skip that one because that's a garrison one. Let me show you my Richard build. This is my tried and true Richard build. This is the one that I use on the battlefield every single time I bring him on the map. This is the one. And again, you can see the exact same build we just built before. However, I was able to, based off of the other talents that I had available, go into Iron Spear as well, which I use Richard quite a bit to take down cavalry units, even though there is a Genghis Saladin Genghis combo that does take out Richard Charles, which is one of the most tanky, if not the tankiest army in the game. There's only one of those. There can only be one of those, per player. So I mean, unless you're getting swarmed down by a bunch of those, you're still going to be very, very good and very tanky on the battlefield. Every other infantry army group that I've seen on the battlefield, Richard Charles, Charles Richard, can tank those things out for the most part. And again, I was able to take a lot of the stuff that we just talked about on the defense talent tree, which is Testudo formation, loose formation, and then Desperate Elegy, giving you a huge rage generation tool alongside of being half health or less. Same thing with Call of the Pack here. I know that Desperate Elegy is 30% health, but still, it all kind of synergizes together. And again, pair that up with Hold the Line, giving you those 2 seconds of 20% damage reduction too. I mean, this is the build for being ultimately tanky on the battlefield for your infantry. And then I wanted to also show you, conversely, you can take infantry and make it into an attack generating type of thing. So this is Alex, and this is my build for Alex. I use him for rallies mainly, but I do use him on the open field primary too whenever I have my infantry group out. And he does a monster job on the battlefield. You've got tons of tankiness with armored joints, Hold the Line, Strong of Body, Call of the Pack, and then also Effortless gives you a lot of damage increase alongside of Fight to the Death, which I do like Fight to the Death more for rallies than I do for open field, but it's still pretty decent. And then you've got tons of rage regeneration as well with Burning Blood, Undying Fury, and all those good things. And this is where going and actually maxing out the infantry tree makes sense, because the rest of the stuff, in my opinion, on the attack tree isn't that good. Martial Mastery is the only other thing that I would think about, but a lot of times I do pair Alex up with YSG, and Martial Mastery does not work with that at all, because I want YSG to be pumping out tons of skill damage. And again, the versatility tree is just, there's a lot of gathering and garrison stuff, and it just doesn't help you at all in open field or rallies. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, the rally one for the Meteor Shower is nice, but I'm not going to put all those points in there just to get there. So with that being said, I think that's about it. Let me go ahead and go back to the Charles screen just so you can kind of see where we went with this. I want a final on that one just so you can see exactly... here we go, exactly where we ended off. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, the point of this series is to make sure that you can see what you need when you're building your own stuff, and hopefully I've been able to give you the information you need to pick the right talents when you're building your stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Cheers, have a good one, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.